Welcome to the London VCSE Sector Dashboard. This is how we can explore, map and share our voluntary community and social enterprise sector across London. It is created by Datawise London, which is a partnership programme led by Superhighways and was launched in July 2025 as part of London Data Week. What does Superhighways do? Well, Superhighways helps charities and community groups gain essential digital and data skills backed by the right tech to achieve their goals. That means we run a large training program, everything from how to use Excel to check that you're on the right track with your services, to e-marketing, right through to how to set up your Microsoft 365 account. We also have a tech support service and we run digital inclusion programmes, particularly as we are part of Kingston Voluntary Action, a local council for voluntary service in the borough of Kingston upon Thames. When we talk about the voluntary community and social enterprise VCSE sector, what we're referring to is a broad umbrella that covers organisations that are driven by social or environmental purpose rather than profit, and includes many different types of organisations with different legal structures. And I'm going to pass over to Kate to talk a little bit about what those are.
We're talking about charities, and those organisations will be registered with the Charity Commission as the regulating body. Social enterprises, there's a range of organisation structures that come under that subsector. So social enterprises might be community interest companies. They also might be other structures, including community amateur sports clubs. Then we've got a whole range, and actually what probably makes up the largest portion of the sector's community organisations, so unincorporated grassroots groups that aren't registered. We'll come back to that at a certain point because it does give us a challenge in terms of bringing data about those smaller organisations. And then there are other structures and other subsectors as well, so mutuals and faith organisations as quick examples. But hopefully for those of you that are kind of new to the sector, that gives you a little bit of an overview. And then we wanted to just tell you a little bit about where this dashboard fits in our work. We were funded under the Cornerstone Fund. It was a collaboratively funded systemic change initiative that was looking at how can we all work together to support a thriving civil society in London. So we put in a proposal to run a programme that helped civil society better use data. And Datawise London was born. We've worked in partnership with many organisations. And as part of that wider programme, we identified that we wanted to explore and find and help organisations share and find out a bit more about the civil society sector in London. We were funded by City Bridge Foundation, so a shout out to them as well.
So Kate talked about these kind of 4 areas we identified as being kind of areas where charities and community groups were struggling and where we thought we saw potential for actually being able to help in a kind of systemic way. With data about the sector, the first thing we did was kind of try and define what we thought the problem was, and we did that in partnership with the other organisations in the Datawise London partnership, but also drawing on our huge amount of work we do with the voluntary sector organisation ourselves on our day-to-day basis, and talking to all those people to try and define the problem so that we could actually then start thinking about solutions. So the problem we have identified about data about the sector is that data is scattered across siloed or open, or sometimes open or sometimes private directories and databases, but they're not talking to each other via all these different data sets. There might be one, in one London borough, there might be one for the whole of London, there might be one that overlaps over several London boroughs, and they're not all being sort of pulled together in one cohesive place. Also, the large public data sets, so things like the Charity Commission and Companies House, they are brilliant sources of data, but they can be quite overwhelming. They're complex, there's huge amounts of data in them, and it often requires data skills to be able to navigate them properly and actually be able to identify what you're actually really trying to pull out and what would be useful. These big open data sets also often miss below the radar organizations. And by that, we mean organizations that are not incorporated or organized. So they're kind of grassroots, maybe a few people running something in their own community. They're not required to register anywhere. And so as a result, they sometimes drop under the radar, but they are, as you can all imagine, absolutely integral to our VCSE makeup in the city. We've also got a lack of data standards and external publications, so not everybody's recording data in the same way. Kind of silly stuff even, just Hammersmith and Fulham having an ampersand in it or the word and in it can knock out if you're trying to collate data. So if you imagine that across all these data sets with all these different bits of information, it can be quite hard to bring stuff together. Also, not everybody's publishing their data outwards. Obviously they wouldn't be publishing private data, but not even on a sort of public level, so the publicly accessible data they're not publishing. And all of this is leading to massive duplication of effort. Everybody trying to collate the same data, everybody trying to ask the same questions, everybody trying to do the same analysis in different ways. So we're sort of being ineffective as a sector as a whole. So having framed the problem, we then went on to say, okay, well, these are the problems. What does that mean? So it means that it's very hard to answer questions, simple questions, like how many VCSE organisations actually operate in London? What do they do? Where are they based? Who do they help? How do they contact them? Where are they funded? But who are they funded by? How many people work for them? Where are the gaps? How can we support them? How can we collaborate with them? All of these things should, you would think, be quite easy to identify about London's VCSE sector, but actually are surprisingly difficult. So we then reached out and started thinking about who are our stakeholders in this. It's not just us. It's not just this VCSE organisations. It comprised, as Kate said, of these kind of social enterprises, community groups and charities. We're obviously core because that we are the VCSE sector, but we work, of course, alongside the people who fund us, local government, the NHS, the VCSE infrastructure organisations, so the organisations that actually help the VCSE sector work more efficiently, and the data and digital providers, so people providing CRMs or websites to the VCSE sector. So to try to help us on this journey of kind of analysing what's the problem, how are we going to solve it, we drew up lots and lots of use cases in conjunction with all these different stakeholders. So I've just got one example here to show you of the National Health Service. So this is just an example use case. So the National Health Service collaborates, as I'm sure you all know, with the VCSE sector to co-design health strategies, deliver service, advocate for patients, and promote health and well-being generally in our city. They need collated, consistent and reliable data to better understand VCSE provision for signposting and referrals, so they can spot gaps in provision where a VCSE organisation is not existing. If you're sending someone home from hospital and they're going to need some support, you need to know that there's somebody there you can send them on to. They also need data to be able to increase their reach into communities for targeted campaigns. So they wouldn't necessarily have access into certain communities, but there are organisations in the VCSE sector who would have access into those communities and would be able to spread the word. And they also need to be able to identify organisations that can help them co-design services. So again, reaching people in the community who they might not otherwise reach. So I guess this is a quote from somebody kind of helping explain the need for this data. So this is from a quote from somebody who works for an infrastructure organisation, and they say that they've used their State of the Sector collaboration, so the State of the Sector report, when they kind of report on what's going on in their borough normally around the VCSE provision. They've used it to advocate for funding for the sector properly, and it's even led to them getting additional funding attached to small grant pots for voluntary community groups in some of the cold spots that the work identified. So this is sort of testament to somebody actually using their VCSE data. So having sort of framed the problem, worked out who the stakeholders were, talked to the stakeholders, worked out sort of all the, try to identify as many possible use cases as we could. We then worked on, well, what are we going to do about it? And we decided that we were going to use our Datawise program to explore if we could create a tool that would allow us to unify data in a customizable, interactive, accessible, and sustainable way. We wanted to establish we could foster collaboration among infrastructure organisations, local government, health bodies, and funders in order to keep it being interactive and sustainable and accessible, and to work with the sector to standardise data categorisation for collection and use. So these are the kind of key 3 areas we decided to explore. And we defined for ourselves what we thought good would look like. So we thought that would be a community-owned and led data platform, which brings together existing public data sets with VCSE-owned data in an accessible and sustainable format so that different stakeholders can access, explore, and visualize London's VCSE sector. So we quickly realized that there's no point creating a kind of data platform in isolation. We needed to do it with all of you, so that we could continue to sustain it moving forward and keep it relevant and useful to everybody. And here we've got a funder who said to us, this will be an amazing tool for our grants officers to identify organisations that are not known to us so that we can reach out and let them know about our scheme. So that's quite nice quote using why it'd be useful. And then we thought we should put in a couple of disclaimers of what we're not trying to do. We're not trying to create a list of services available in the different London boroughs. Pretty much every London borough will have a directory of services, either provided by the local authority or provided by the VCSE organisation, infrastructure organisation in the borough. They all do a great job at it. They know their boroughs intimately. They work locally. They know who all the players are, and also they've got people uploading their own information about, classes on a Tuesday or whatever it happens to be. It didn't seem to us worthwhile to try and recreate that. It's already done really well, but instead we want to signpost to their directories and then collaborate with them to pull the data across into ours. Not so much around the individual services, the actual services of it, offered, the nitty-gritty of it, but more around the organisations working in the different areas. So in terms of our process so far, our round 1 development, we identify the stakeholders and the possible use cases. We talked to people in all the different stakeholder groups, and then we developed a basic prototype. So we used just the Charity Commission data in the first instance to do that. And then we ran a series of co-design sessions, and some of you here were brilliantly in those sessions and helping. If you weren't, we'd love you to come and join sessions. So please do get in touch. We'll be putting up lots of information about how to do that. Based on the back of those co-design sessions with everybody feeding in, if this is good, but that doesn't work, or we'd really like this, we then went into round 2 of development, and we brought in the company's house data and the 360 giving data. We then increased functionality from the co-design session, using the co-design session feedback to increase functionality. And we then ran more co-design sessions to be able to iterate further. So we've been adding functionality as we go along, and we're constantly adding functionality. So Fader was adding some functionality today. So we've kind of really, it's a live thing. So if you've got ideas, we really want to hear them, because we will be including them if we can. So got a couple of disclaimers as well. So the data from all the data sources we used is only as good as the data people provided or uploaded. If somebody misspells their name, their postcode, or if they choose a category they don't actually belong to, there's nothing we can do about that. If people haven't put their latest income in, or their volunteer numbers aren't up to date, we can't help that. But we can pull all the data across. So that's where we've come in. Companies House publish a lot less information than the Charity Commission. So you might be thinking, oh, why do these social enterprises have so little information? That's why. It's not the Companies House doesn't have it. It's just that they don't publish it out in quite the same way as the Charity Commission do. 360 giving data has been used to validate grants, so we can match the data, so we can match the funding, so we can see how much we can represent how much funding is being shown, but we're not currently using it to enhance our data set with smaller grassroots organizations, although 360 giving does have information on that. We're not quite at that point yet to be pulling that in because of the kind of mismatch of data. It's very hard to, when you're talking about these smaller groups, to pull that data in smoothly. I should have a massive shout out, by the way, for the 360 Giving team, who've been absolutely fabulously kind and generous about their time in helping us and run wonderful sessions. If you want to know more about grant funding in London, they run wonderful sessions on how to use their Grant Nav tool. And the other thing to say is, as of yet, the smaller unincorporated charities, the little grassroots guys, aren't in there yet. So that's on our roadmap. So I'm going to now take you through, do a little guided tour through the dashboard, and then I'm going to give you some time to go off and have a go with it yourselves. On the resources page of Datawise London, we have this one called Data about the voluntary and community and social enterprise sector. If I click on that page and go in, you'll see we come into our dashboard, and our dashboard is embedded in this web page. It's quite small here on the page, so if I want to pop it out, I can just click on these double arrows and pop it out here. So now come into the dashboard, I'm on the home page, and there are a menu bar running down the right-hand side with lots of different options of what I can do running down the side. In terms of the kind of main ways of viewing it, they are under this either boroughs or NHS ICS. If anyone's not sure what that is, and the NHS ICS is the integrated care system, so it's how the NHS divides up its regions. Underneath that, we've got different view types for list and matrix, which we'll come and have a look at in a minute. And then we've got find out more. We've got the info pages, which will tell you all about the data, the choices we made around what to filter, what to include, what to not include, what things mean if it's not entirely obvious in the first instance. So hopefully we've covered everything, but love to hear if anyone's got questions, notices something they want to know something about, do get in touch. And then we've got a contact us form, which please use. We'd love to hear from you. So I'll start off and I'll go into the borough one to start with to kind of talk us through it. So if I click on borough, I go in and it's showing me my London page. The page is divided up. So in the middle of it, we've got our London map, where you can see it's got colour saturation on it. And that is, if I hover over it, the colour saturation is based on the number of VCSE organisations based in each borough. And if you go hover over the map, you'll see it will pop up with a little box telling you how many there are in each of the different boroughs. Directly underneath the map, we've got these 4 cards here. They tell us the total number of charities and social enterprise is based in London. Then the next card down is a kind of breakdown of that. So we've got how many charities are located here and how many social enterprises are located here. And then this final card is how many are based here, are not based here, but operate in London. So they're kind of, ones normally around the fringes of actual geographical London, as it were. If I come up to the top left, we've got the charity employees. So it tells us how many employees there are across London. This is only for charities who have an income of over £500,000. Otherwise, they're not required to input that. Some do, but most don't. Charity volunteers, again, have to have an income of over 10,000 in order to have to put in their volunteers, and trustees. Underneath that, we've got charities by longevity. So this is the number of years that they have been active for. And we put this in to be able to see kind of the sustainability of the sector, how long had charities been around for. Underneath, we've got more finance stuff. So we've got the total income, the total expenditure, and the total amounts of grants awarded. This is for a 1-year period, and this is the data coming from 360 Giving, and that is because the data for that 1 year is a kind of the cleanest subset we can have, and we thought it was more helpful rather than include everything throughout time when they were starting up and not everybody was putting their funds up, to now when not everybody's got their funds already put in for this financial year. So we went with a clean year of 23 to 24. That will probably change as we move forward, that we will move into the current year or the next year on. Underneath that, we've got the 5 largest grant funders. We've got the charities by income bands, and which are divided up following the NCVO standards. We've made it slightly more granular at the lower end. And then we've got the scale of operations. So where do they operate? Are they local, regional, national, or overseas, or in some cases unknown, which is where we don't actually know where they're operating. With all of these visuals everywhere, you will see there are, if I hover over them, you'll see there's these three little white buttony kind of things that pop up. If I come and click on that question mark, it will tell me a little bit of information about what do those different definitions mean. Again, the info page is your friend. It has all of this information too, but we thought it might be helpful as you're going along. And there's also this focus button. And if I click on that focus mode, it jumps me out and takes me into a bigger version of the visual. And then the last thing we've got on this page is the filters. Oh, sorry, I should actually mention, so sorry, before I do that, if I go onto a borough and click on it, so let's say I click on Southwark, you'll see now that all the figures on the page have changed. So it's showing me just the figures now for Southwark. Where in some instances, so not on the cards where we've got these kind of bar charts, it's showing us it as a percentage of the whole. Over on the right-hand side, we've got filters going on here. So we've got several different filter types. We've got organisation type, which allows you to be able to select if you want to look at, for instance, just charities, or if you wanted to look at just social enterprises, or maybe just a specific sort of type of social enterprise or charity, you could be selecting them off here. You've got organisation names, so you can actually go and search for an individual organisation if you want to. Just in this search bar at the top, just start typing the name of the organisation. We've got the international classifications for not-for-profits, which is what organisations are asked to complete when they register with the Charity Commission. Again, self-selecting, so if you think it's the wrong category for a charity, that's their choice. Also, they're only allowed one, so it's quite hard for people sometimes. But you'll see there's lots of different types here. So, for instance, actually, I won't use that one yet. I'll come into filters in a second. Then we've got scales of operation here. So if I click on that, it comes up with our local, national, and overseas and everything. And just to show how the filters work, if I thought, well, actually, I don't really care about the national or the overseas ones because they're not doing anything in my community anyway. I only want to see local. I could select local, and I might say regional as well. And the region is London, basically. So if I select regional, it will then bring me back just the local and just the regional organisations. So within, at the moment, Southwark, because I'm selected on Southwark. If I click again on Southwark, it will drop me back to looking at the whole of London again. If I think, oh, I don't want that filter on anymore, I've got a couple of options. I can either click on select all, or I can click on this refresh button on the top and it will reset my filters for me. Couple more filters is we've got show only faith organisations. So that's if you wanted to only see faith organisations. And we've got also show infrastructure organisations only as well. So if you maybe you're a frontline charity wanting to find out who might support you in the area you work in, you could go and find your infrastructure organisations. And then we've got a couple of exclusion filters, which people asked us to put in because they don't normally want them when they're looking at what's going on in the VCSE sector, which is to exclude parent-teacher associations and to exclude independent schools on the basis that they're possibly not doing a huge amount kind of locally, socially. Not always true, I'm sure. But anyway, these were the two we were asked to include. So we've got all these different filters going on, and the filters, once you put a filter on, it will stay with you on your journey through the dashboard, but you can take it off at any time because the filter bar will stay there. Should just draw attention as well, sorry, just on the left-hand side, we've got the info button here. So if you wanted to go to the information pages, the home button to take you back to where you started, and the go back button, which will just step you back one page. So if I come in and pick up a borough, let's go in. Oh, I've done Southwark again. Let's do a different one. Who should we do? So if we come in again and I'll pick up Westminster, for instance, I can come in and I've got, as soon as I click on a borough, you might have noticed these buttons enable. If I deselect, they go white. If I select, they enable. And I've suddenly got 3 more options going on. So I can choose to drill through. If I click on drill through, that will draw me down onto the page below. Drill through literally just means like taking a data point and sort of going like with a microscope further down into it. It's now taken me down into Westminster, and it shows me the distribution of all these voluntary sector organisations in Westminster. You can see it's divided into its wards. If I hovered over a ward, it would tell me what that ward was and how many charities are located there. You're probably all thinking, wow, Westminster has so many charities, but actually a lot of them are national and overseas. And you could find that out by popping on your filters, obviously. You can then you can drill down further if you want, and you could select a ward. And if I select a ward, I could then pop it out, and I can either go to a location map, which would show me where they were on a map, and that would shows me my organisations. If I then hover over one, you'll see it pops up and tells me who those organisations based in that area. And it's probably like maps you've all used before, Google Maps or whatever. You just can zoom in. You've got these plus buttons to take you in closer if you want to. And again, don't forget you've got that focus button, which you can just click on. Oh, sorry, just click on, and you can make that map bigger if you wanted to. The other thing I can do as well is I can also click on list, and I would go and see everything that was in the list that was working in Westminster. So let's jump back a page, and I'm going to come back to the home page. So that's kind of exploring it by borough, and I'm going to let you guys all go off and have a bit of an explore on it. If I come into the next one down, just to talk through this one, if I click on the NHS ICS, so again, these are these integrated care system that the NHS has divided London into. There is these 5 of them. So it looks exactly the same, as you can see, same cards, same filters, same everything. The only thing is we've gone up into these higher level areas so that they're actually being, brought together per ICS region. The principle is exactly the same. You could click on one. So let's say I selected the Southwest London ICS. As soon as I clicked on it, probably spotted all my visuals are changing, all my numbers are going, drilling down into that, and my 3 buttons have come up again. So again, I can click through and I can go and see where, was about to happen. I can go and see where things can happen. Oh, good, Vader. We spotted an error for us to fix. Oh, there we go. Did work. Just had to think about it for a second. Right. So there we go. It's so now it's drilled down and it's showing map for the Southwest London Integrated Care System. Let's come back again to home and just talk you through a couple more things, and then I'll leave you to it. So we've also got a couple more view types here. We've got the list view, which if I click on it, takes us into a list. You can apply the filters here. If I'd applied filters somewhere else, they'd be holding with me as I came into these different views. You can also here choose to download, you can ask for a download of the data. So if I click on the download button, you'll see it comes into a form. You put in your, we've got a question saying, what are you going to use it for? Because we're really keen to try and identify what's useful and why people are using it. You pop in your email and then you select the borough. There's other filters you can apply, but we kind of think, well, probably you're better off not applying too many filters, just get the big data set. I'm afraid at the moment you can only do it borough by borough, just because there's too many organisations. Otherwise the file would be huge. Oh, sorry, I should drop myself out. All right. And then last thing is just to look at the matrix. And the matrix is just a breakdown of numbers of organisations and funding awarded and income by these, divided up by these integrated care systems. So you can see we've got community interest companies, how many organisations there are, what funding has been awarded. We don't know their income because it's not published on Companies House. And we've got registered charities, number of organisations funded, awarded and income. And you can come down, if I'm in North Central ICS, I could come down, I can see the different boroughs, and I can keep going and see what's happening in Barnet, for example, right down to ward level. So we thought you might just want to free explore, but we've also got some use cases as well. So we've got 5 different ones for kind of different types of stakeholder with kind of step-by-step guide and what the output should look like. So feel free to follow one of those if it's easier, but also feel free to just explore on your own too. So we just wanted to quickly run through kind of what our next steps are in terms of this and share it with you. So we kind of divided up the work we were doing into 2 main areas. So one was harnessing the open data. So with this goal of building this co-design tool, bringing together open data sets to create this interactive, accessible dashboard. So that's what we've been working hard on. The next thing we really want to do is we want to bring all the VCSE organisations together and work out how we can better share data together. As we said, there's loads of brilliant service directories and initiatives all over the place. And so we're very keen to start building a kind of community of practice so we can all come together and work out how to do that better together. Also, in terms of the dashboard, we've been thinking about kind of the breadth and depth of it. So quite a few people outside of London have now seen the dashboard and have asked if we can extend it out. So we're now thinking about how can we actually take this broader, so moving out of London into England and Wales initially because of the Charity Commission being England and Wales, and then moving up to capture the whole of the United Kingdom because Northern Ireland and Scotland have different Charity Commission. We also want to look at the depth. So at the moment, we started off with our kind of core of Charity Commission. We brought in the Companies House. We then brought in the 360 Giving. Our next step is to bring in the national infrastructure organisations. There are lots of organisations capturing information around different aspects of the sector across the country. So we'll be talking to them and also talking to local infrastructure organisations to kind of really try and bring on board all of the organisations we're missing. So these kind of below the radar organisations. And as I said, we've tried various different methods to doing it, and we've worked out the only really way to do it is to do it collaboratively with everybody working in the sector. We've done a smaller scale experiment to kind of test this to see if this is actually, if it does work. We've done this in conjunction with London Youth. So we've pulled data from London's Youth Own Data, Charity Commission, Companies House and 360 Giving. We then started engaging different stakeholders working in the youth sector specifically, and then we started to pull in additional data. So at the moment, we've pulled in data from the Young Foundations, Jack Petchey and Partnership for Young London. The dashboard's going to be published very soon, so we'll share all of that resource with anyone who's interested. But that has been a really good result because it's meant we've been getting really good, clean data sets from them, which it then have been much easier to combine in with our own. So and we've also been able to kind of share and discuss functionality and what we do and don't want to share and how we're going to do it. So it's been very sort of a positive pilot, small scale pilot of what we're hoping to achieve on a much larger scale for the sector as a whole. There are lots of other related initiatives. We're not the only people who are trying to do all of this. And so we're hoping that we're going to be able to work alongside all of them. You will probably have heard of NAVCA, which is the National Association for Voluntary Sector Associations.
Community associations.
Thank you, Kate. I've got to struggle after the V. And they are doing a big State of the Sector standardization project. We've got the Data Collective's place-based data spoke, run by Datakind UK. We've got Nottingham Trent University's VCSE Data Observatory. We've got MyCake doing work with the GLA around the GLA Civic Strength Index. We've got NCVO, who have their amazing almanac and do their UK charity classification project, and we've got Local Trust doing their below the radar research. There's lots of others as well going on, by the way, but these are the kind of core ones we picked up. So what we're really hoping is that we're hoping that you'll all want to get involved and be part of this kind of collaborative project, building this community tool that can be co-designed by all of you and then maintained by all of us moving forward to ensure we all know what's going on in our sector. Feel free to get in touch with us any point. You can either email all of us, it's just our names and then superhighways.org.uk, or you can use the contact us form on the in the dashboard itself, or via the Datawise London or the Superhighways websites. So lots of different ways to contact us. Please do contact us. We really want to hear from you.